Scott Gladstone here with Mason Dinesen, former Range Rider, current Chicago White Sox member. Mason, first of all, just like welcome back to the Valley. Obviously here doing some workouts, continuing to work in the off season. I just want to kind of start at the beginning with you and kind of how you got into the sport of baseball. Originally from Florida, kind of talk to me about your first time picking up a baseball and how you came to love the game.
So, as far as I can remember back, I believe I was around 5 or 6 years old. I started playing t-ball. My dad was a great athlete, high school athlete, 2 or 3 sports. Chose baseball in college, played at Stetson. Was a pitcher, caught, could hit. I think he just kind of put a ball in my hand. At least that's the story he said.
Yeah.
And was making sure my hand-eye coordination was built up, and then I was never very good, to be honest with you. I think the challenge is kind of what I fell in love with at a young age, and I found that out this year. I mean, the past 4 years, the challenge just never stops, and I think that's something that really attracted me to this game, and been playing since I was 5 years old, haven't stopped. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and talk to me, obviously, coming out of high school, you were looking at different options kind of to continue the collegiate career. And obviously, baseball more than any other sport, JUCO is used highly, but also NAI, D3, D2.
Yeah.
Everything's basically used more than anything. We see that in a league like the Pioneer League. For you, what were you looking at coming out of high school, and kind of how did you get your collegiate path kind of started there?
Yeah, so, I mean, my road is much different than most guys that I play with now. Even most guys that I play with the Range Riders. I think, in high school I was graduating young. I was graduating at 17 years old, so maturity-wise, I wasn't up to par with a lot of those big-time D1 draft pick guys. I was still, by my senior year, able to play the game. However, not that I got overlooked. I mean, I had some Division I looks, some very good JUCO offers, and I didn't have a reason to say yes. So it was more so, do you want to go into your senior year committed, and take the pressure off your shoulders? And that's something I decided to do. Decided to go NAIA with intention to play 1 year and get out. That's what I did. Went to Division II, and that kind of progressed me back into the NAIA when I chose to leave that school. Because the NCAA had a bunch of rules back then. I mean, they're slowly getting rid of every rule they have now. I mean, now you can get paid, and it's crazy. Yeah, you couldn't transfer back then. You'd have to sit out a year.
Yep.
And, so I found this NAIA school called Kaiser, West Palm Beach, Florida. Played under a great manager who was a 10-year big leaguer, Brooke Fordyce. They kind of propelled my career. Unfortunately, was a victim of the COVID draft year when I was speaking to MLB teams, professional teams about a possible draft signing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, after COVID, came back to school. Same kind of deal. The draft went from 40 rounds to 5 rounds, back to 20 rounds. You had like 1,000 players losing their job. I wasn't special. So it was like, what do I got to do? Trying to think, to be exactly precise how this happened. I go back to school. They're like, hey, you still have a chance. This is great. You're only 21 years old. I had a good year. We went to the World Series. Ben McConnell was on that team. He was a Range Rider.
Yep.
We played in college.
Yeah, a couple other Pioneer League guys have surfaced from there. Yeah.
I mean, that team was very, very good. And they were good in the Pioneer League. They were probably good enough to get drafted too. Just that year of 2020 to 2021 was for the world was insane, right? I mean, baseball was the least of people's worries. And I think it's difficult for the fan of the game to understand the trickle-down effect that had on professional sports, and still having. I mean, they're kind of getting back to how it was. 2021, they're like, you still got a chance. Was most likely going to get a contract offer. Was speaking to many teams. One team specifically had a freak injury to my elbow. Tommy John surgery happened to me, so they were like, hey, you done playing? I was like, I don't know. I'm sitting in my room. I get a call from Kaiser. This is 2022 now, fresh off surgery. I wanted to play. I rehabbed it. I was just going to try to get right into pro ball, try to get drafted. But hey, if you want to get drafted, you got to go back to school. I was granted another year because of COVID. Now I'm 22, old for the draft. I mean, in a sense. And
Yeah.
had another good year. I came back after 6 months of Tommy John, and I thought I was going to get drafted. I'll be honest with you. I had confidence in myself. I had an advisor at the time, was like, hey, these guys are saying you got to go play indie ball if you have any chance of getting drafted.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up in the Pioneer League.
Yeah. Before we talk about the PBL, I want to ask you about playing in the Exploration League. Were they the Exploration League at the time?
The
Expedition League.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that you're from Florida. You played your college ball all in the Southeast, right? And here you are. You go to South Dakota, North Dakota, right? So was that your college coach that got you connected up there? Like, how'd you get there?
Wow, I haven't even thought about this in a long time. That place, very much like here, holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
I met a lot of good people, a lot of great opportunities up there to be a better player. Like I said, go back to high school. I mean, late bloomer, I didn't really have the repetition. I didn't have the strength to play the game at an elite level yet.
Yeah.
So that propelled me to the player I am today. I played under a great coach there. His name's Corey Thompson, who also, he's the pitching coach at Kaiser now. So we still have a connection. But the Division II I played at, University of West Florida, was a powerhouse. They connected me up there. When I wasn't even going to go play, I was like, do I just get stronger in the summer? And then he's like, listen, come play, get at bats. Turned into an everyday shortstop, got so much repetitions, and then it became like, okay, come back. And then 2020 happens, COVID, that's the only league that was open that was actually traveling.
Yeah.
So you had the Northwoods was popular, obviously the Cape didn't go. I had a temp contract to the Cape, which is the best league, to try to get my name out there. They banged the whole league, So, I faced so many roadblocks with that. Looking back now, not that I'm where I want to be, but I'm a present moment guy,
Yeah.
So back then, I didn't even think about all the the peaks, valleys you go through, and that was one of them. Summer ball was huge because as a hitter, you need to get at bats.
Yeah, and a league like that, in some sense, kind of like the Northwoods League, tries to mimic kind of indie ball or minor league baseball, that grind. So was that adjustment more difficult for you coming from doing collegiate seasons, which are a couple games on the weekend, maybe a midweek game, going to then that minor league grind essentially during the summer, or was it more of a culture shock of Florida to North Dakota?
Beautiful in North Dakota in the summer, no culture shock. I mean, it was different for sure, but very, very easy to get adjusted, especially with the host family I had, the coaches up there. To answer your other question, the transition to playing every day. For me, my friends would mess with me about this. I had a lot of friends that played at big schools, Florida State, Florida, some in pro ball right out of high school. I was a good player. We would train together, I might have been at a lower level at the time by choice, and it's the path I chose that I thought was the best for me, and I don't look down on it at all. I encourage kids now, hey, make sure you play. Because, you tell all the girls, all your friends, hey, I'm going to Florida. It's it's awesome in the moment until you're watching, Caglione play every game while you sit, right?
Yeah.
And not knocking them, obviously. It's amazing that those guys are professional players. It's high A baseball in the SEC.
Yeah.
So they would always say, hey, Mason, this is Mason's real season is summer ball. They would always make fun of me because I loved it. That's what I was posting about on social media. I was, everyday guy, playing in front of fans, getting the chirps from the fans, the wood bats, you feel like a professional. At least I did. I always kind of approached the game in that manner. So that, looking back, definitely helped me adjust to pro ball. The Pioneer League, I was under Jim Riggleman, who we were just talking about him downstairs, me and Jeff, the hitting guy that's here. And, manager Sammy Sosa, dude, those guys are no joke either. So that transition, I was like, okay, this is summer ball, now I'm just getting paid. That's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about. I mean, that's the thing that when I was broadcasting in the Northwoods League, it's this is your chance to live baseball as a career and not have to worry about as much schoolwork. Maybe you're taking a summer class or something like that. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I was worrying about schoolwork.
Yeah, exactly. All about baseball. So you get up and you link up with the Pioneer League because for a lot of guys at your age, at kind of obviously the restructured minor league system after 2020 and COVID.
I mean, they cut this league.
Yeah.
that was another thing. It was like, okay, everyone looks down on indie ball when you're in college, right? Like, I want to get drafted. I want to do this, you know. It's no different than like a kid dreaming, like, I want to open a company. I want to be the CEO. You know, it's the human mind, like, wants to go as far as possible.
Yeah.
That you start to look down on, like, the steps to get there. And it's something like I had to realize too, like, hey, take your medicine type of thing. Like, okay, these guys don't think you can play. I mean, I had scouts tell me straight up, like, you can't play. You can't hit.
Yeah.
You know, I've had people put their name out for me. I've seen text message back to those people that were putting their name out for me saying, hey, if this kid thinks he can play, like, tell him to go play indie ball, you know, see how much you really love the game.
Yeah.
So that kind of, like, put a chip on my shoulder a little bit for sure. And that year that I went to the Pioneer League, I was coming off Tommy John surgery. Like, I had a good college season because I focused, but dude, I was 170 pounds. Like, I wasn't like what I was my junior year where I hit like 10 or 12 bombs, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I had to gain all that strength back. I mean, do you recall I got traded here? I hit one homer? Like,
yeah.
I wasn't strong.
Yeah,
I was decent.
I'll be honest. Like, I remember the trade notification coming in, and I was going, great defensive. I remember watching defensive-wise, but I think there was a handful of moments that you had against us where, like, you had a strikeout with the bases loaded or something like that, and I was like, oh, it's that guy that, like, you know, as the Range Riders broadcaster, I was okay when you had a moment here or there, but I hadn't really seen it with the bat yet, so I was waiting for that, and then you immediately came. Talk to me about that, the start in Billings and kind of getting used to this Pioneer League grind. You mentioned it, just like summer ball, you're getting a paycheck, though. Yeah. It's nice. A lot of guys come out of college, especially if you're the hot shot at an NAI or a D2 or something like that, and you hit a wall here and you go, every day, this is not what I'm not cut out for this. How is that transition to then going full on, and what were those initial kind of struggles and learning that you had that first stint with Billings before you got traded to Glacier?
Yeah, so I think the answer to this would be I train at Cressy Sports Performance, and it's in West Palm Beach, Jupiter, Florida, like Palm Beach Gardens it's called, the East Coast. Baseball mecca, I mean, there's a ton of guys there, MLB guys, all the way down to college guys, you know. You're training every day, and we had a hitting coach there. His name was Tyler Wolf, now with the Texas Rangers. I mean, knows his stuff. He put me in contact with Billings because he wanted me to get drafted. He was like, at the time, you could come up here before the draft and still get drafted. Yeah. So it was like, okay, go prove you can play. And it was always a problem, like, hey, can this kid hit? Can this kid hit? I mean, I think I can hit, so I'm like, okay, like, I'll go play. Well, I come up here. My first game is actually against the Range Riders. Yeah. Like, it's like 40 degrees, blizzard rain. Like,
was that in this ballpark?
This ballpark.
Yeah.
So because you guys.
Yeah, our first ever game was that June 14th, drizzling, cold game.
So that game, I played shortstop for the Billings Mustangs.
Yeah.
That was my debut.
Yep.
I get a random call on a Monday. Hey, this is Jim Riggleman. You know, he's a legend.
Yeah.
You ask any MLB guy, I'm like, hey, he's like, look, like, we've heard a lot about you. Like, we want you to come play shortstop for us. Our shortstop's getting married. He won't be here for 2 weeks. That's how I got a roster spot.
Whatever way you can get it, right?
Yeah, so I remember I fly. The travel was crazy. I wake up. I fly out of Miami. Have 2 layovers. Get to Billings. There's a game at 7 o'clock that night. Sign a contract. I get to watch the game. Hey, we're hitting the road 7 hours to Kalispell, Montana.
Yep.
It's a 6-game set. You're playing shortstop. You know, he sends out the lineup. I'm like, okay. So I just flew 11 hours pretty much. Now I got to ride a bus for 7 hours. You know, I wake up. We get here. It's snowing.
Yeah. You look up at Big Mountain and it's.
I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, we're playing a game in this. You know, the whole day, if you don't recall, it was playing.
It was like record flooding in the valley and everything.
Playing, and now I remember because you stay at the Red Lion here.
Yeah.
I didn't know the area at the time. You know, I'm walking around to places that I know now because I eat here, and, you know, I know the people, the community, and it's funny, like, looking back, like, I go eat. I look outside, like, we're not playing. You know, I was with, you know, who was my teammate? Cruz Taylor was my teammate who ended up playing here. We were good friends from the Expedition League. Yep. So it was crazy. I'm playing with him, you know, and he's a great player at the time. You know, I can get on a tangent about Cruz because he's funny, but you know, he was kind of showing me the ropes. He got up to Billings before I did. He was probably going to get drafted as well.
Yeah.
Just ended up not working out.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're chopping it up, and, you know, they're like, hey, the game's on. Because, you know, the Kellys, like the game's on. Like we're playing.
Games.
Yeah.
I mean, it's opening day. It's the
Yeah,
first ever
opening day.
game.
So I'm like, well, great. Like no one's gonna be at this game, But I heard the stadium's sweet. So we get here for BP. We're not taking BP on the field, and it's packed.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
the circumstances.
Yeah, well, and especially the thing, I remember looking down, the bowl was kind of spotty, but you look up, and because you've been around this league, you've seen the other stadiums, we have so much covering for fans for rain games, and I was like, somebody thought this through and realized, hey, if we're going to have a nice artificial turf field they can play through rain, let's get the fans a situation where they can stay dry. And, yeah, it was packed, and it was good energy.
And it's funny because, like, those guys, like Brody Wofford, like the OGs here.
Yeah.
I've, like, vivid memories. My first hit was here.
Yeah.
I got a single, and I get on first base, and Brody's like, he's a big guy. Played at LSU, got drafted, and he's like, wow, like, if you can hit in this, like, you can hit in anything, And this is before the struggles. It's just funny, like, going back. Because I didn't have a bad series, I was amped to be playing professionally. And then, like you said, you hit that wall. But that wall, like, that's just what baseball is. And now I own a training business for kids. I teach remotely, and I teach lessons back home. And, like, that's what we talk about is, like, it's not if you hit the wall. It's when you hit the wall and how you choose to react. And, like, that's why baseball is great for, like, a great comparison to everyday life, So you ask about the wall. I did hit a wall. And I remember riding the bus. I'm hitting 240. Not good in this league, in my opinion. Like, Riggleman likes me, though, and I know that. But it's still hard. Like, as a hitter, you're like, wow. Like, at the time I had a mentor. His name was Justin Black. High draft pick with the Braves. We communicated, He calls me. Well, you're thinking too much, dude. Like, do this.
Yeah.
Playing Colorado Springs, I think I'm like 11 for 14 that series. And that's when I realized, you know what? Like, I can play.
Yeah.
I can play against these guys. Do what I had to do. Started playing a lot, and then, struggled again. And, like, it's like this, man.
Yeah.
Like, struggle, come out of it. Struggle, come out of it.
Yeah.
Struggle, come out of it. And I ended up here.
Yeah, and talk to me about that. That's I remember interviewing you the after the game in which you got signed by the White Sox before that game. But
Year, you mean?
This year when I asked you about being traded to Glacier, but go a little bit more in depth into that moment. Like, how did you find out? And it was literally Billings. You guys drove up here to play us, and then you're like, okay, go to the other locker room.
It sounds wild, right? It's like, okay, hey, we're going to Glacier this week. Great. Leave my stuff in Billings, just like any other road trip. I get here. I'm playing. Play pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm on the field early, or I'm in the cages early. And Stu Peterson is in the cages early with some other guys, And I noticed, like, we had a conversation in Billings. He would show up to the Billings cages to see what players were in the cage working early. And he'll tell you the story. It's funny, And that's kind of what propelled him to say something to Riggleman. Hey, we want him next year. So Riggleman came up to me. He's like, hey, I'm not coming back next year. This is what I'm hearing. This place is going to be amazing. The plans for this place. And I mean, look at it now. I mean, it's came to fruition. He's like, I really think you should consider coming here next year. I'm like, okay. Like, in my head, I'm like, no. Like, I'm getting signed by the MLB next year. Like, I'm not, being cocky. Like, that's kind of how baseball players are. In my head. I'm like, yes, sir.
No, for sure.
And then the game happens. We're taking BP on the field the next day. This is game 3. And Stu's watching my BP. And he's not saying anything to me, but looking back now, I'm like, wow, like he's scouting.
Yeah, clearly he
saw something because he made sure he was out there for my round. And next day comes by, no news, I'm not in the lineup. Next day comes by, I'm not in the lineup again. Saturday comes by, I'm in the lineup. We take BP. Riggleman pulls me aside outside the trailers back there because for all you guys that don't know, we haven't always been in this clubhouse. We were in trailers.
And they were right next to each other, and the umpires in the same trailer.
So it went like this: home trailer, visitor trailer, umpires like in the same trailer. Like, it's a different vibe, Like, you really had to lock in. And, we're sweating Riggleman, and taught me so much about the game. And he's like, he looked me in my eyes. He's like, he used to say, men, that's how you would address the team, men. He'd be like, listen, straight up, man to man. they want you now. He's like, and I don't know what to do because you can either stay here, play for me. He's like, I'm not going to release you and put that on your.
Yeah.
Like they're about to make a playoff run. Like,
yeah.
I wasn't the best guy for the job at the time.
And he was kind of situated. I remember he was making some trades there at the end of the season to try and set up.
Yeah, and the team, I believe, was still owned by the Reds at the time. So not every decision was.
Yeah.
Or they shared the same GM, the Reds minor league teams, because that was affiliated with Cincinnati.
Yep.
And Riggleman was affiliated with Cincinnati.
Yep.
I mean, it's not every year you have a big league manager managing India.
Yeah.
Hence, he was here 1 year.
Yep.
And, I respected his opinion on the situation. But as a player, you're like, whoa, like, is a trade.
My stuff's still in Billings.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was the least of my worries at the time. I was like, all right, like, these guys, I have a decision to make. Call my dad, he never played pro ball, but I mean, he's just like, hey, like, whatever, like, you think is best.
Yeah.
Call my mentor. He's like, go.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it. These guys want you to play shortstop every day.
Yep.
They're going to give you the opportunity. Do it. You need at-bats.
Yeah.
And that's what Riggleman said to me. You can play for me 3 to 4 times a week, split time. And at the time, I was playing with Jordan Barth, who's a great shortstop in the American.
Yep.
But great college player, too. He was better than me. That whole year, he was better than me. Like, I'm not afraid to admit that. I had development to do, and it just seemed like a better fit here. So that's actually what happened. I left all my stuff in Billings. After the Sunday game, I said goodbye to all my friends, like all my teammates.
Yeah.
They clapped for me in the clubhouse. We were like, that's like a funny story too.
Yeah.
Like what, like Riggleman, like, cause like I was a team guy. Like we all, it's a good clubhouse.
Yeah.
And Riggleman announced that I was getting moved. You would have thought I was getting like called up to the show.
Yeah.
These guys are clapping. I'm like, yo, I'm leaving, right? Like, it's funny to think about now. So yeah, I grabbed all my stuff. One trailer, other trailer. I'm your new shortstop. I had played with Ben McConnell, we had a little bit of, and I had played against these guys. Like no one was really thrilled that I was there. I mean, the vibe here was weird then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because it was a team that was essentially out of a playoff chase, so it's kind of. And it kind of
essentially we had a chance though.
Had a chance.
Yeah.
Well, that's the 2-half system.
Hey, I get here, we're losing like all the time, bro.
Yeah.
When I got here, we were winning. I don't know what.
Well, because the second half was really good for that squad. You were a big part of it because there was something that kind of clicked when you came in too, and
I was playing every day.
Yes.
That matters, and like, it goes back to reps. Like you play every day, like you get more comfortable in your failure.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, like another at bat. We're like. Baseball is like, if I don't perform, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Next guy in. You get a little bit more comfortable the more you play. And, I got here, and Hogan, the manager at the time, Stu, the hitting guy, I'm here at 1 o'clock. I don't have a car. I don't have anything. I'm getting picked up. I'm getting dropped off at the gym at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I got to fend for myself.
Yeah.
And get, driven from the gym to here. Oh. Those days, funny to think about.
Well, and especially, you talk about the fact of how it was then in the trailers. Like, there was still active construction. I mean, going into like beginning of last season. I mean, the beer garden just got finished the beginning of last season. So like things are still being put on. This is a like living construction site. Amazing, so like, how much did that influence you knowing that like, hey, this is going to be a great facility? When it's done, I'm sure this is going to be a great facility. It's already a beautiful stadium and a great crowd. But, like, I know the pieces are going to come together because clearly just by how this is built, the ownership, the management is invested in, like, making this a huge kind of stepping stone for guys that want to make it to the next level.
Yeah, I don't think that every player saw it that way.
Yeah.
Riggleman put that in my head. Like, hey, this place is going to be legit, And, subconsciously that might have played a role in my attitude here, but I've never been afraid to put the work in. Like I said, like I'm getting dropped up at the gym.
Yeah.
I'm here by 1 p.m. every day. The game's at 7. I'm in the cage with Stu at 2.
Yeah.
In the sun, like, for hours, and we're fighting in the cage. It's funny, like we're yelling. I'm yelling at him. I'm like, dude, like, I don't know how to do this. And he's like, you can't hit. And I'm like, okay, well then what do you want me to do? Ended up hitting. So, like, I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm excited to come back here. We went on a little run. We had a chance to go to the playoffs. We went to Missoula were winning like 10-1 in the ninth inning and ended up losing that game and
Yeah.
eliminated us from the playoffs. That was crazy. That was one of the craziest games ever. But
Yeah, one of those games that I was glad I was not on the road for that first
Oh, yeah,
year.
you
Yeah,
were.
yeah, because I didn't travel. I remember watching and like live tuning the game, and then I was like,
I
oh,
remember
it was
being
going the wrong way.
shortstop, and Ryan Cash was at second at one point. I'm like, I thought you said. I remember looking at him. I was like, I thought people said we couldn't beat these guys. So like that was like the.
That was the fatal last
We've
words
never
right there.
won here. It's 9-1. We need 3 outs, and they score.
And then you were just begging for a ball to come your way, right?
No, I think I missed the ball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a ninth inning that everything goes wrong.
Yeah, no, I didn't miss the ball. They had a good player.
Yeah.
He like beat out a ground ball, and I was upset. I was like, damn.
Yeah, but you mentioned wanting to like being excited to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, like in the off season, you're waiting for a call as always, as everybody else is from a team. But knowing, hey, I got a fresh start. I'm gonna be kind of the everyday guy. We got Gabe coming back, who's a great.
Well, that was the other thing. Gabe had gotten hurt.
Yes.
I had known about Gabe. He played in the NAI as well.
Yep. Yeah. George Gwinnett. Yeah.
We were in the World Series together. Never played each other for the NAI. I knew of Gabe. I knew the reason I was here is because he wasn't able to play.
Yeah.
And this is before I branched out to other positions. I was playing shortstop. I played a little bit of center field. So, Stu called me and was like, hey, like, we're going to bring you back. You're going to be a util. Like, you're going to play a lot of, like, second outfield.
Yeah. And you've only really been shortstop for, like, the last...
At that point, yeah.
Yeah.
Center field a little bit in college, but, yeah, I mean, I utiled a little bit my sophomore year, I guess you could say. So it wasn't, like, brand new, but as far as the past 5 years, like, I only knew shortstop. That's all I knew. But I was excited to come back. At Cressy in Florida, we have these pro days where every team comes out and you work out in front of a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just never got a shot. They're always like, okay, go back to indie ball. I was willing to go overseas. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, you look at that second season, obviously, like, the results on the field for the team were really good. We had the second best record in the league, playoff structure. Yeah. I mean, it was a good squad.
Yeah.
What was it for kind of that team, and obviously being able to come in kind of fresh slate instead of being the guy that got traded in mid-August or whatever it was? Now you're one of the returners, one of the guys that knows the ropes, and kind of shifting more into that leadership role that we still really saw you embrace at the beginning of this year. What was about that second season for you personally and for the team to kind of put it together and have what was a really fun summer?
So looking back on that year, reflecting on that was 23, I believe. Dean Miller and I, great friends. Gabe and I, great friends.
Yeah.
I was talking to Dean yesterday about that team and how dynamic the locker room was. We had a lot of different personalities.
Yep.
Which that's tough to mesh. But the one thing we all had in common is like when we played, like it was like, all right, let's run it. We're gonna win. I remember coming into that year, I had not earned a spot yet. Stu was like, hey, like, you're going to be fighting for this to get in this lineup. I'm like, that's fine. Like, whatever. I felt good. I'm stronger now. Like, I was recovering from surgery.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks I can hit home runs. Like, nobody, all you guys think I'm just like this little, like, speedy shortstop.
Yeah.
And that's fact. You can test it.
Yeah. No, you hit the first grand slam by a range rider here, and I was like, whoa, I did not have Mason Dinesen on my bingo card for doing that.
Yeah, and that was like one of the farthest ones I hit that year, I think. And I had a powerful first half, I remember, and then we made some changes in regards to the lineup and what they wanted me to do, less power at the time. And it's not even about hitting home runs, but I remember getting called into the exit meeting after that year and Stu saying, hey, like, I want you to know, like, you earned, because at the time Ryan Cash was playing second every day. That was that was the fan favorite guy. Like that was the guy, and it was tough. Me and Cash were tight, so when you're competing against your friends for positions, like, it's tough. And Gabe was an everyday guy. Obviously, he's leading the league in everything at the point. So I had to find my way into the lineup, and I started playing outfield. They threw me in left field.
Yeah,
I made like a crazy catch.
That Rocky Mountain vibes game. Well, because it was. I forget who was coming in. It was a returner relief. John Natoli was pitching. Yep, and he was struggling hitting the strike zone. And
we had bases loaded.
Yeah, bases loaded.
I never played left before.
And we already had lost that first game versus on the Friday night versus Rocky Mountain after we swept Billings to open the series. And I was like, we need something here because like this would be just a horrible collapse in the top of the ninth. And that ball goes in the left field. You make that catch. And honestly, like I remember it. Fundamentally, I don't know if it was exactly how you're supposed to do it, but like it's just something about like your natural athletic kind of prowess as a defender, as somebody who's just trying to find the ball. How was that adjustment to get back into the outfield during moments like that when you're just see ball, catch ball, essentially? Like that's how simple it can
First
be.
of all, like I had never played left field before. Left field, I don't care. Like ask any baseball guy, it's most likely the most difficult outfield position.
Yeah.
You have. If you give me time to work on it, I probably could have done it smoother.
Yeah.
It's the 6th inning. And Ben McConnell gets hurt.
Yep.
I was off that day.
Yep.
Go play left. Okay, Greg Zahn.
Yeah.
Hitting guy. You're playing left. Great. You have an outfield glove. Kingston's like here. I'm using Kingston's glove. We're trying to figure out where to play. We load the bases. Lefty's up. 2 outs. Throws a fastball. Hits it. And this ball starts to my left. So I break to my left. Well, when a lefty hits a ball, especially here with the wind crushing this way, that's going to spin the other way. I had to redirect, make up speed, and then my only shot was to dive. And I dove, and I was like, wow.
Just glad you found it in your glove at the end of that.
Yeah, it was a good propel, into Sunday, I believe, or the weekend.
Well, yeah, and just continue to play that outfield, and you were all over the place. Obviously, then you finish that year, great year. You go into the next year. I feel like I don't know if it was your speed you got quicker or if it was just your jump and your base running. What did you improve? Because you were, if you would have not been picked up, you would have probably shattered every steal record because you were just like, you were creating runs by infield single, steal, sacrifice fly, whatever it was. I was just like, man, every time Mason gets up, he's finding a way to score, and just in these unique kind of speed-centric ways. What was it about the improvement speed-wise from 23 to 24?
So, not that I was faster. I might have been stronger, faster, smarter. Our coaching staff changed.
Yeah.
Stu, that other team, the 23 team, could hit.
Yeah.
We had pop.
Yep.
We didn't need to steal back.
Yeah,
all these guys
Dean was crushing the ball.
Homers,
yeah.
Gabe 17 homers.
Yep.
Curtly 15 homers.
Yep.
I don't know who else done it. Fitzgerald 12 homers.
Yep.
Those dudes could hit. So, and I would steal bases, but it was only in certain times. I get called into the office by Tommy Thompson, which love the guy.
Yep.
He's like, "Hey, you're running." I said, "I don't care." He's like, "Get thrown out."
Yeah.
And Fletch, the manager, you're green lighted. Do what you have to do. Run.
Yeah.
So it started in spring training. I started getting my timing down, and then it just became I got thrown out my first attempt of the year. I was safe. They called me out. And I get back to the dugout, and Fletcher's like, keep doing it. He's like, don't let it deter you, And then I don't think I got thrown out the rest of the year. It was just go.
Yeah.
And these guys weren't doing anything about it. So I was like, and it's funny, my first game in Arizona with the White Sox, I walk. And the pitcher, they must have had a report or something. The pitcher picks off every time I'm on base, they throw it away. I'm like, this is funny. They think I'm some speedster.
Well, and how with the new timing rules too. Obviously, is that something you think about? Kind of with those timing rules and try and take advantage of it. Yep.
So that's an advantage for me,
Yep.
And then I get promoted to A-ball or whatever, and I'm not green lighted. And I went on my own in a crucial moment. Yeah. Steal a base, get to third, and the manager's like, "Did you miss the sign?" I'm like, I looked at him, I was like, "I can run, I promise." I can run. And then next day before BP's listing all the green light guys and put me on the list,
Yeah.
And I was one of the faster guys in that I guess organization, but
in that level, yeah. Okay, so then we play a 6-gamer in Missoula, I believe. And honestly, you've been playing really good going into that. But I remember talking about it, the start of that series, CK had his 10 RBI game where he was crushing the ball.
Chose to pitch to him instead.
Yeah, whatever it was. And you had a couple strikeouts, and you were really avoiding strikeouts early part of this year. I was like, man, this is a rough series for Mace. And I heard the rumblings that teams were really close to getting you, and I was like, this is the opposite of what he needs right now. So
that's crazy.
How shocked were you that Sunday morning to get called in and say, hey, pack your bags?
This whole experience for me here was amazing. Especially this past year, I was really well known by the fans, really well known in the community.
Yep.
I have a great relationship with the ownership, the manager.
You were doing some lessons in the off season last year too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I kept in touch. I have friends up here that
Yeah.
have nothing to do with the baseball program.
Yeah.
I'm out and about. I made a ton of connections, so it was comfortable for me. My host family, amazing.
Yeah.
Both of them, my original ones in Big Fork and then my ones in Whitefish, just provided such a stable environment for me to play the best that I could. And looking back at everything, what was the question? So you were asking,
how surprised were you that morning?
Surprised that morning. So it's more so like you're correct. I was not playing well that series. I think I was like 0 for 10 with like 7 Ks. Like it wasn't like And like we talked about like earlier, it's the ups and downs. Okay, I've been here before. I can overcome this. I think at the point in time, I'm leading the league in everything. So like homers, bags.
The steals was like you had a 10 steal lead on the next closest.
Yeah, and I'm playing good defense. Even the Missoula players like said something to me before the series started, like, yo. And I had people, when are you gonna get picked? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
Like, I'm not worried about that. I stopped focusing on that. My number one goal was to be the best teammate I could possibly be last year. I have a piece of paper. I took a picture of it because people don't believe me. Because I feel like that's something I struggled in the past. Was like, all right, I got to be less selfish. I got to lead. And Fletch wanted me to lead. I came up here early, threw a first pitch at the Little League. I was like, wow, these kids actually like me.
Yeah.
So it's like my mindset shift. We go into Missoula. We're playing really well. They're playing really well. It's like a battle of losses.
Yeah.
And we
lose the first 4 games.
Yeah, me not playing well is not good. Like, not saying I'm the whole team, but like,
but
it's like, okay.
But as the leader that you were, it was
so,
right there.
And I remember Fletch calls me down. This is Wednesday. I had a couple rough 2 games, which is normal. I mean, they weren't giving me anything to hit. I was getting myself out. That's a tough place to play out.
Yeah, for sure.
The environment.
Yeah.
I'm not making excuses, but look myself in the mirror. All right, we're going to get through this. Fletch tells me, hey, like, I got all these teams calling about you. Just be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how you're playing right now. That's not this conversation. He's like, we need to win ball games. We need to find a way to win ball games. Straight up. And I'm like, you're right. Like, I'm going to figure it out. We did some work in the cage. Come back, I think it's Thursday night now. Or Friday. Me and Fletch had worked on something in the cage. Kind of clicked for me. I hit a double to right field. Hit it well. It was like 2 strikes. Like 94 up and out. I hit it. I get in the dugout. Fletch gives me a high five. And that was kind of like the click for me. You know? I think we lost that game. But
I think we got walked off. I think we might have got walked off.
I played a lot better.
But we were right there.
I was back.
Yep.
2 game, whatever, 8 at bats. My numbers are still good. Saturday comes around. We win that game. I'm playing center field, playing good defense.
Yep.
And that's what I think kind of that week, I think, is what got me signed. The badness. Like, that's what I think was like, oh my God, like, you sucked, but you still found a way out of it. So it's not that I was definitely surprised, but like, I was very gracious at the time. We're hitting in the cage and Tommy's like, get up here. Like, acting like I'm in trouble.
That's Tommy.
I'm like
That's
so
Tommy.
Confused. I'm like, what? He's like, we heard you were out late last night. They give me this whole like spiel, and I was like, I was out late last night. I was like, what did I do though? I was like, I didn't do anything. And then I'm hitting second, playing right field. Like the vibes are loose. Like we're about to take this game too. Like, and it was a big game.
Yeah.
And they just told me. I mean, I was like, I had to chill. I was like, wow.
Yeah. How when a moment like that happens, because we were lucky that this organization got to experience that a lot this last year. Obviously, I was there. Did Housley get signed before you? Yeah, he did. But I remember
that was like a Saturday night. We were going on a road trip.
Yep. Because we were all leaving the next day to go wherever.
And I get in here. I'm like, what are we doing? And then they're like, nah. He's like, I'm going to the White Sox.
Yeah, and so being a part, like I've been a part of kind of that moment, when everybody kind of knows it's already rippled through, and then everybody's, saying goodbye to somebody as they're leaving. Obviously, Pintaro, like when he got signed, that was a really unique and cool moment. But what was that like in the locker room? Because it's this weird bittersweet moment for your teammates.
Yeah, they gave me a second to settle down. I mean, the game's about to start.
This
isn't like.
Yeah, no, it was a late lineup change. It was a late
like
scratch.
An hour before the game. It's Sunday. We're not hitting on the field. It was like they gave me the lineup card. They did the whole. Some guys are on the field already. They call them all back in.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think I realized like how much I meant to the team.
Yeah.
Just by their reactions. They're all real proud of me, and I got to give a speech. Tommy kind of gave the whole Fletch actually. He actually started this. Were you in there?
I was not in there. No.
Oh yeah, so the whole team's in there, and Fletch started the conversation the same way they started it to me. Like, what were you doing out late last night? We're taking you out of the lineup. But yeah, Tommy pulled like a White Sox because he used to coach for them. He pulled one of these out or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a pullover, and he threw it to me, and he was like, "Put this on."
Yeah.
And the team mobbed me, and then they were like speech. So I was talking to them, and at that moment, I think I realized I was like, "Wow, this is real." And bittersweet though, which is
yes.
A lot of people don't think it is, but it is.
Yeah.
Because, if I had it my way, I would have got drafted out of high school,
yeah.
drafted out of college. It's a long road. You don't realize when you're on it, but you're in the locker room. These guys have been you're with these guys every day. This is my family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of changes that are about to happen. We're on the road. I don't know what the future holds. They call me. I'm pumped. I get a chance to call my parents, all that. But in the moment, talking was just wow, I don't know. I just I got to spend the day in the bullpen. I know what to do. Fletch is funny because I hadn't sat a game the entire year.
Yeah.
Every game.
Yeah.
So it was he doesn't know what to do with it.
You got the day off 100%.
Pacing back and forth. We win.
Yeah.
I think the attitude,
yeah.
It sparked it.
I honestly think it sparked it for you guys, and obviously, I think Missoula kind of felt it on the other side, knowing that hey, we just won the first 4 against these guys, and they got a guy signed. I thought that was just a really cool moment for us because, at the end of the day, we want to win games too, but the goal of this franchise is just as much or even more so to send guys to the next level and to be the preeminent team in not just the PBL but in Indy ball to send guys to the next level.
And it's not the big leagues. It's not even about that. It's not this kid's going to the big leagues. It's more so just you start to realize that hey, maybe some of your hard work has paid off.
Yeah.
I'm 25 at the time. I'm 26 now. They say it's impossible. They say you can't get picked up out of this league as a position player.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name names, but I get to ride the bus with the team back. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to stay in Missoula.
Yeah.
Because we have Mondays off, but now I'm going back because now I don't know what I'm, doing. And teammates, great time on that bus. But I had one specifically tell me, this gave me hope.
Yeah.
And it is a mental grind for a lot of guys. Where it's dude, do I go get married, get a job? You're battling that every day. Yeah. But he told me, he's like, dude, this gave me so much hope. And he had a great game that day, had a great year for us. But and that alone, amazing. That just makes me feel good.
Yeah. Do you think about at all? Because I love to think that the guys that are going on are continually kind of shedding light back on this organization and saying, hey, the guys that come out of Glacier, they're gonna be legit. There's a certain process that we go through to find our players and to help train our players. That then when they show up, obviously Pintaro's been. I mean, he shot to AAA just like that.
Well, it's crazy because I'm training with all these MLB players in Florida, right?
Yeah.
I'm an indie ball guy.
Yeah.
But they'll throw me in because I've been around for a while down there.
Yeah.
Blessed to be able to do that. I'm facing these guys. I'm like, oh, these guys are good. They have big league time. I come up here last year for spring training. It's 40-degree weather, and Pintaro's on the mound throwing 100.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo. If this is what's in indie ball, what's to come? This guy's not going to be here long.
Yeah.
And me and him, we stay in touch. I played with Housley, obviously, so we stay in touch. It's amazing what this organization is becoming. It really is. It really is. And if they care about you, they're gonna.
Yeah.
They're gonna help you.
What has been the biggest change? What's the biggest adjustment going from Indy, going from Glacier to obviously you went to Arizona originally and then finished out in Kannapolis? What's been the adjustment?
I wasn't there the whole year, and I don't know if there's a simple answer to that question.
Yeah.
Played a lot of games. The opportunities.
First hit was a home run with Kannapolis, right? I remember seeing that.
I was struggling. I got there and I was exhausted from the travel.
Yep.
Another thing was you got to adjust to the
it's that same wall.
It took me a week, and then I was like, okay, I'm adjusted. Ended up playing pretty well. Not as great as I wanted to do, but the opportunities are definitely slimmer because the competition is better in a sense.
Yeah.
Not that they're better players than these guys, but it's just a different process. You know, it's an adjustment that you have to make. in a positive way, you have a new light on yourself. You know, you're one step closer to where you're trying to be. And another good story, we're out here before spring training. It's me, Pintaro, Montana Quigley. Fans will know him. Obviously, you know him.
Yeah, phenomenal season before he got hurt.
God, great pitcher,
Yeah.
you know. And we're talking, and that was the great thing about this team was we had faith in each other as players. And I have so many stories like this, but this specifically I remember, you know, he looked at me and he was like, hey, like, you're a great player, and I hated playing against you. Now that I play with you, I like it. You know, like, you know, I had a good laugh about that. But then he continues to go on and he says, if you think about it, like, we're 2-3 phone calls away from the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? I'm sitting here, I'm like, dude, like, look behind us. Like, we're in the mountains and, like, we're not in the big leagues. And he's like, no, think about it. Like, owner calls Fletch. Okay, you could get shot right to AA. You're in AA.
Yeah.
You're a phone call away.
Yeah.
Motivating, if you think about it.
And that was Montana that said that.
That was Quigley that said that to me.
And Pintaro was right there as well.
Pintaro was, he was throwing with us.
Yeah.
You know, but Pintaro was always like, I'm going to throw 100. I don't think there was any doubt that I think he'll play in the big league.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, he put up great numbers in fall ball and everything like that.
I got complete faith in him.
Yeah. What do you miss the most about either the Range Riders or the Flathead Valley? Like, obviously you spent 2.5 summers here, or maybe 2 summers if you count a half here, half there, whatever. What do you kind of miss most about whether it's playing ball here or just in general, the Valley, the people, whatever?
I mean, I'm back right now. You can tell that answers your question. What don't I miss, really? I mean, the community, the grind of it. I mean, I had such a good schedule here that, to answer the other question, that was another adjustment. I had a schedule change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, way different.
Yeah.
The same but different. Same game, different schedule. Just the everyday, the grind of it. It was amazing here. Like, I loved every bit of it. The travel, the fans, the community, people knowing my name. That's another thing is, like, now no one knows your name.
Yeah.
Like, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many. The turnover rate's so high in professional baseball. Even here it is. So to have people and to have kids recognize you, like, that's why we play the game.
Yeah.
Like, it's about baseball, but, you know, it's about inspiring. And so the kids, like, just knowing my name is like.
Yeah, well, I remember talking to you after you got picked up, and you said the thought of a kid knowing my name, like, that's, you say, okay, maybe if I make it to the MLB, that'll happen, but I don't think people recognize that at this level.
This is their big league in a sense. Like, they don't have a big league team here.
Yeah.
So, like, these kids, they might not get a chance to go watch guys play. You know, I was fortunate enough. I grew up in South Florida. I'm watching the Twins spring train. I'm watching them practice. You know, Jesse Crane was an interim pitching coach here. I have vivid memory, and I told him this. I'm 8, 9 years old, skipping school. I'm watching this guy take PFPs with Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau, great players. Come to find out, like, he's the guy that, like, helps me propel into pro ball. Like, it's just wild, like, thinking about all of that. And it makes you, like, think, wow, like, now there's kids that look at Gabe Howell and they're like, wow, like, I want to play like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and, like, I'll go out sometimes here and it's like, kids will recognize me and it's like, hey, like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling. So, I guess the answer is, like, what don't I miss? Like, I'm just treated so well and I love it out here. So, I'll keep coming back. Like, obviously, I'm not going to play here, but it's like, come watch some games. Like, I want to get land out here. I live out here, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a hidden spot.
Yeah.
You tell people in Florida, I'm going to Montana, and they're like, why? It's like, no, okay.
You don't know. you stay back.
Florida's amazing, too, but this is just, it's a honey hole. It's awesome.
Yeah. Finally, just looking forward to this next season. Obviously, you're here putting in some extra work. Like, you know, seeing the Valley in this part of it, but also, you know, getting to use our cages, and I think that's a great part that, like you mentioned, like the players that are invested in this program, we're going to continue to be invested in the player, because obviously, like, you know, it spreads light on the Valley, it spreads light on you, and it spreads light on the organization when you have success. But kind of beyond that, as you're just prepping, what are your big goals for this upcoming season, and kind of what are you looking at? What's the next thing to kind of get through and improve?
I don't think there will ever be something that I don't need to improve
Yeah.
on. And my goal each offseason is I'm just going to keep getting better. And it might be one specific thing, it might be a mindset thing. This year, I'm just going to come in the best baseball player I can possibly be. And the rest should take care of itself. There's a lot of things you can't control in life, in this game, and the only thing you can do is do your best and don't leave anything on the table. I'm a big Kobe fan, rest in peace. Big MJ fan, big Tiger Woods fan, and those guys, like the greats, like they always were trying to improve, even when they were at the top of their craft. And not saying I'm at the top of my craft, but the want to always improve, like, will help you in the long run. So I don't think there's ever going to be a time, even in season, where I'm not trying to get better at something. And to reiterate on your point about how they stay invested in the player, you know, I get offered to come out here and train the whole offseason, place to stay if I wanted to. You know? And, you know, I might do it eventually.
Yeah.
It's the facilities here. I mean,
yeah.
You take one.
Obviously, Nola is out here. Like he's kind of working on that. Like
Nola's out here, catcher, big league catcher, been helping me a lot. His personal hitting coach, he's an older guy who's been around, man. Like Barry Bonds coached him.
Yeah.
A-Rod coached him. You know, like just a long list of very successful big leaguers. So just to be in his presence and the Kelly family giving me the chance to come up here and improve.
Yeah.
Just, you know, proves again like how much they care, and I see that. So it's great.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Mason.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Good luck the rest of your off season and into 2025 with the White Sox.